Taiwan has a new Ministry of Digital Affairs, and Stash talks with experts about a controversial digital bill.
Hot air balloons take flight in Gauchon. We'll preview for you the 2022 Gauchon Hot Air Balloon Festival.
Famous Uyghur activist Nuri Turkle tells us what we can do to help end China's genocide of the Uyghurs.
Finally, in Hashtag Taiwan, we take a look at a campaign ad that didn't quite stick the landing. This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to the show. Taiwan recently inaugurated a Ministry of Digital Affairs with Audrey Tang as the minister. Now, digital issues have actually recently seen some controversy. The cabinet recently shelved a draft bill that would have given the government the ability to flag illegal online content and disinformation. Critics say it would have had a chilling effect on free speech in Taiwan. Now, Staś Butler recently spoke with civil society researchers Gauchon and Zihao about why there was so much backlash to the bill.
The Taiwanese people is very sensitive to any type of restrictions put on our freedom of speech by the government. I think that indicates that we don't want to go back to authoritarian rule. That's why we are very careful and sometimes even over careful.
People remembers the past during the martial rule period, so Taiwanese people in general are very sensitive to the freedom of expression issues. And in my opinion, that is the healthy reactions from the general public, although I think there are many misunderstandings on the nature of the bill.
What are the misunderstandings?
The bill itself does not create any new category of the illegal content. Secondly, in my opinion, that this bill is trying to create a general framework and a general procedure to deal with the illegal content. In its essence, it's not a bad development, but the problem is that the scope of this procedure is not very clear, and it can be narrowed down from the human rights perspective.
How do you stop the spread of misinformation and disinformation while still protecting free speech? What would a successful piece of legislation look like?
I would personally think that a process like V-Taiwan would be a very good process. V-Taiwan was started, I think, in 2015 or something like that, precisely to design as a multi-stakeholder process to negotiate and adjust bills and laws that is related to the digital realm.
In my opinion, it's very hard. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it's highly difficult to deal with disinformation inside of only one law. Disinformation is a very complex topic, and there are various ways to tackle that. In my opinion, Taiwan might consider that to introduce the foreign agencies law similar to the laws in Australia. We have to understand the financial or the economical motive structures, the incentive structure of the disinformation industry, so that we can split the problems into different provisions and to implement the provisions within different laws, but not in the intermediaries bills.
Taiwan explicitly has said that it modeled this draft bill on legislation in the EU and the UK. I mean, is there a country or a place in the world that you think is doing this kind of thing right?
In my opinion, there haven't been any really successful model in the legislation part to counter this kind of disinformation.
I think if our government has done enough homework, they should share the content of their homework with us. For example, I just saw people on social media producing their own comparisons of the Online Safety Act from the UK, the Digital Services Act from the EU, and our own bill. In my opinion, since Taiwan has gone through more or less a 10-year process of making the government more open, transparent, and participatory, I think that should be the government's first step. The government claimed that they have referenced these laws, but the people has to decide for themselves if the government's claim is legitimate or not. So provide evidence for the people to convince people that you have done your job to the best of your ability. And then we have trust.
And the government for now has postponed this bill indefinitely. Do you expect they'll actually push it through later, perhaps after the elections at the end of this year?
This sort of reminds me of the 2014 318 movement, when then Congress trying to quote unquote push through certain legislation, the civil society reacted. I don't think the current government, I hope that the current government does not forget about that.
In the future, if there are some eye-catching cases involving in the platforms or involving in the illegal content, maybe it would become politically feasible for the government to push that bill. And they might try to push that bill in that situation.
A better version of the bill can be achieved if we pull as many people together as possible. I think a multi-stakeholder meeting would be an excellent place to start. Minister Tang has extensive experience running those forums. Not to say that we should rely on one genius. We should rely on the intelligence of our collective here in Taiwan. Taiwan has no shortage of talents. When it comes to the internet, when it comes to tech, all of those people should be brought together in an open, transparent, participatory way.
I also recently had the honor of speaking with prominent Uyghur activist Nuri Turkle, who in 2020 Time magazine named as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. He recently came out with the book No Escape, The True Story of China's Genocide of the Uyghurs. I asked him what we can do around the world to help end China's genocide of the Uyghurs.
It's actually two things ordinary people can do. One is spread the word, and doing this is one of the key, small but very significant examples. Give a voice to the Uyghur people, whatever the means, tools that you have. I'm very grateful to TFD. This is not the first time that they gave me the platform to speak and educate the general public. Public education is very important because we're free people. If we know something, we can influence the policymakers' thinking. Specifically in the United States, we can call our members of Congress, we can write letters, we can write op-eds, and people read it. There's a town hall, there's a thing called town hall. The members of Congress go to the district and listen to people. So it's very important, the public education. The other thing I think that people can do in here is just to stop buying made in China products, specifically if it is a cotton. The chance of that consumer product made with slave labor is quite high. And also be mindful that even things like Campbell soup or Heinz ketchup also been implicated. And also, if you're in the tech sector, have a conversation with your colleagues to see if any of the things that you've done in cooperation with the Chinese tech giants have been used in furtherance of the ongoing genocide. The role of technology in the ongoing genocide cannot be understated. This is why my government listed almost all of the Chinese high-tech companies in the entity list. And there's a clear directive in the United States, don't use even apps like TikTok. So there's a reason for that. So I ask the global consumers to stop buying, bare minimum. Otherwise, you're fueling this genocide. Otherwise, you're inadvertently contributing financially to this ongoing genocide. I don't think that we should allow them to carry out this genocide in our name.
So we should disconnect ourselves from China,
Yeah.
Chinese products
Buy
and
local.
tech companies.
Yeah, buy
right?
local.
Up next in Hashtag Taiwan, I tell you about a campaign ad that didn't go over too well with the public. On November 26th, Taiwanese people will vote in Taiwan's local elections. The public will choose county magistrates, city mayors, local legislators, among other leaders. Now, the top seat at stake here is the Taipei city mayorship. Why is it such a big deal? Because that position is often seen as a gateway to becoming president of Taiwan. Li Denghui, Taiwan's first democratically elected president, was Taipei mayor. Chen Shui-bian, Li's successor, was also Taipei mayor. Ma Ying-jeou, Chen's successor, well, you get the point. The only democratically elected president who has never served as Taipei mayor is the current one, Tsai Ing-wen. Currently, there are 3 major candidates running for Taipei mayor in this year's elections. There's Chen Shizong from the ruling DPP. Now, you might remember him because he recently skyrocketed in popularity as Taiwan's health minister who navigated the country through a large chunk of the COVID-19 pandemic. Then there's Huang Sansan, or Vivian Huang, who's running as an independent. Now, she served as deputy Taipei mayor under incumbent Ke Wen-je. Finally, there's Jiang Wan-an, or Wayne Jiang, from Taiwan's main opposition party, the KMT. Today, I want to focus on Chen Shizong. As the election date approaches, each candidate is slowly revealing their platform. One of Chen Shizong's ideas entails installing bidets at public restrooms across the city. Personally, I think that's a good idea. Whether or not it's feasible, well, that's not my realm. But the problem with this idea was the delivery. To promote this campaign, Chen's people released a YouTube video. In the video, popular internet personality Si Ca Mao sits on a toilet. He realizes there's no toilet paper, so he knocks on the stall next to him. A bidet drops down on a rope, and then there's a message from Chen Shizong outlining his idea. Seems harmless, right? Well, that's the new version of the video. In the old version, after the bidet lowers, Chen Shizong climbs over the partition, smiles at his neighbor, and then flashes him a V sign. People criticize the video, saying it makes light of sexual harassment and voyeurism. Do I see those people's point? Sure. But do I think that's what Chen's campaign set out to do? Of course not. Still, I understand why people found the video unsavory, particularly if you've been on the receiving end of that kind of harassment. Also, I don't think Chen's expression in the video helped either. Usually he carries a very stern poker face. Now I've compared that expression to Droopy the dog. So when you see Chen Shizong smile like that, not only does it come at you from out of left field, but your unfamiliarity with the expression makes you wonder what he's thinking. Am I willing to cut Chen a little slack here? Yes. However, do I think that video missed its mark? Also yes. The thing about election season is, anything and everything candidates do will be put under a microscope, especially if you're vying for a top spot like Taipei City Mayor. Anything candidates do must be nothing less than perfect. If not, then their opponents will dig and dig and dig until even an 8 out of 10 idea seems like a complete 0. Anyway, good luck to the 3 candidates. Let's stop talking about things that didn't take off and talk about some things that did. The 2022 Gauchon Hot Air Balloon Festival kicked off earlier this week after it was delayed because of a typhoon. The 2022 Gauchon Hot Air Balloon Festival was supposed to start on September 2nd, but because of Typhoon Hinnamnor, the official start date was pushed back 3 days. Early Monday morning, event organizers started inflating the balloons. The first leg of the festival will take place in Kaohsiung's Liao Moon World, a place named for its rocky moon-like geography. Visitors can go for balloon rides, and so far the attraction is getting rave reviews. Riders say they feel like they're in Turkey instead of Taiwan. On September 16th, the event will move to Kaohsiung's Love River. There, riders will ascend over the riverbank and look over the southern port city. Tickets are available for booking online, but organizers say they'll also release more tickets to buy in person each day as long as weather conditions permit. And before we go back to the studio for our final question of the week, let's take a look at some of the other stories that are on our radar.
A delegation from Tuvalu, led by Prime Minister Kosea Natano, arrived in Taiwan on Saturday for a 6-day visit. This is Natano's first visit to Taiwan as a head of state. During a military ceremony hosted by President Tsai Ing-wen on Monday, Natano promised to stand firm to remain a lasting and loyal ally. Tuvalu is one of 14 countries with official diplomatic ties with Taiwan. The Airborne Special Forces 6th Branch conducted regular training in Pingtung County on Tuesday. A total of 60 soldiers took part in the drill. 12 instructors from the high-altitude platoon jumped from 5,000 meters before making a spectacular landing. Typhoon Hinnamnor came close to Taiwan last weekend, causing a number of flights and ferry services to be cancelled. It also brought heavy rainfall, a welcome sight in the northern city of Keelung, which has been facing water shortages. The typhoon has replenished water levels in 2 major reservoirs as well as the Keelung River. But authorities are reminding Keelung residents to keep using water sensibly to prevent the next dry spell.
Okay, we've been talking about our digital lives, so I'm going to ask you, Leslie, what you like to do most on the internet?
What I like to do most on the internet? Well, this is kind of a basic question. I'm surprised we never asked it, but I guess we never did, huh? I'm guessing my answer is going to be no surprise to everybody. I use it mostly for videos, videos of recipes, videos of news, videos of music, all that stuff. I put that all in videos.
That sounds pretty. You're good at making videos too.
Making videos as well, yeah.
I like to use it for commentary, like reading newspaper, Twitter, and magazine articles, commentary on all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah, that's what the internet's so diverse too.
And there's so many things you can consume, whether it's tutorials or how to cook, and to be entertained or to be educated, and
And even now we have a digital ministry to help us develop all that here in Taiwan. Anyway, that's about all the time we have for this week's edition of Taiwan Insider. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Leslie Liao.
I'm Natalie Tso.
Make sure to follow us on social media. You can leave a comment or send us a message. Leave a like. We're on all the major platforms. You got Facebook, you got YouTube.
We have Twitter and Instagram as well.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, we'll be back with another edition of Taiwan Insider next week. Until then, we'll see you around, guys.